Hi, I'm Josh Kibbe, and do you know your name?
Sure, it's Rob Kibbe.
And we have a relation.
We do. I'm your father.
Yes, you are. This is who I'm going to be interviewing for part one. So let's go ahead and dive right in.
All right.
So, how did you and Mom meet?
We met in college through roommates. Roommates studied together, her roommate and my roommate studied together, and they introduced us.
Awesome. Do you mind if I ask you about your background a little bit?
No, grew up in Arlington, went to undergraduate school at Baylor, and then went to law school at SMU. Shortly after I graduated from college is when your mom and I got married, and we moved to Dallas. And after graduating from law school, started working, been working ever since. Work as a lawyer at a law firm.
Nice. What was the type of relationship that you and Mom first had, like when you first met?
Well, when we first met, you typically will recognize someone's appearance, and I was attracted to her and she to me. But then after that, you start to try to get to know the person a little bit better. And so early in our relationship, we just hung out together all the time. And so I was always amazed that she was as pleasant as she was to hang around with. A lot of fun, always interested in doing things, getting out. And so as the relationship deepened and got to know her better, I realized she had a really good personality to go with good looks.
Nice. Awesome. What was, I think you pretty much answered this one.
Mm-hmm.
Your first impression of her was that, like, good
Well,
looks?
okay, yeah. So I'm pretty calm, steady Eddie, and she's real excited when she gets going, and so first time I met her, she had a lot of energy, and that appealed to me because I'm much more of an even keel, don't rock the boat kind of guy. And I think if I was in a relationship, if I was married to someone who was exactly like me, it'd be really boring. But I help counterbalance her emotional energy and provide her with steadiness, and that's something that she values as well.
Like, kind of steadying her flamboyancy.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, definitely.
Awesome. Did you two ever have a fight where it involved, like, breaking something?
We have. So there was one night I can remember distinctly where we got in a dumb argument. You figure out when you get married, most of the arguments you have are pretty dumb. Mm-hmm. They're about little stuff. But something's been building to get you to that point, and there's the proverbial straw that breaks the camel's back, and somebody snaps, and you have trouble. And so I can't remember why we were fighting in the one night, but she got mad, and she got mad. Like I say, she can be emotional sometimes, and she decided she's going to storm out of the house. So she stormed out of the house, and she slammed the door, and there was a very popular evening soap opera at the time called Dynasty. And Dynasty had a couple characters in it. The lead man was a man named Blake, and the woman was named Crystal. And they had just broken up and gotten into a fight. And so I started yelling out the window at Leslie as she's walking away. I started going, "Crystal, Crystal, Crystal, Crystal." And she had heard enough, and she picked up a piece of a branch, it was more of a stick, and threw it at me at the window, and it ended up breaking the whole window. And we laugh about that to this day. Had to get the window fixed, had to have the glass guy come out, and it was pretty funny. I shouldn't have egged her on, and she obviously shouldn't have thrown the thing at the window. But you live and learn. That's the great thing about long-term relationship is you're in it. You are not gonna get out of it, and so you figure out a way to make it work.
And what was the exact way that you and Mom, like, fixed the problem? Did you guys, like, talk about it, or?
Well, the wise old married person guy would say, well, eventually I came around to her point of view. A lot of marriage involves, and a lot of good successful relationship building involves just negotiating a compromise and understanding that in a relationship, if you're always looking to have your own way, it won't be a very good relationship. It'll probably be a pretty short relationship. Any good relationship, there's give and take, and a lot of times problems can be solved by trying to meet somewhere where they get something of what they want, you get something of what you want, and it's truly a win-win, and you can move on to live your life together. I think I found that insisting on my own way is pretty much the path, the road that leads to destruction, and doesn't really do the marriage any favors.
What was your favorite memory of the two of you?
The favorite memory, I've got several, so it's tough to choose, but the favorite memories beyond, they're the obvious ones. So when you have a child, that's a big one, and I've gotten some tremendous memories on that. I have, as you know, one of your older sisters is married, and so that's a tremendous memory. But the ones that tend to stay with me the most, and I keep on coming back to, are the times when we're just together alone and we're on vacation somewhere. We like to travel a little bit, and so typically our MO each year is to get away for 5, 6, 7 days, enjoy each other, reconnect, and just have a blast. And we've done that over the last several years, and those are my fondest memories. And some of it can be as simple as just hanging out, having a meal. Some of it can be doing something really fun and exciting. But if I can do anything on an ongoing basis, it's to take your mom on vacation, get her away from all the tasks she's got to do. I get away from all the things I've got to do. We just spend dedicated time together.
That's awesome. This is kind of like a side question.
Mm-hmm.
What was y'all's favorite place to visit together?
Favorite place to visit together would probably be either Carmel, California. That was last summer, a few summers ago. Vancouver in Canada was just an amazing. Victoria and Vancouver right there close to each other, so that those two cities, or Carmel.
Awesome. Do you have any tips for someone to help build a successful relationship?
It's probably a worn out cliche, but it is communication. And by communication, what I mean by that is effective communication. And a lot of times, if you don't watch it, you can tell the other person what to do, and that isn't always received the best way. And so a lot of times it's a back and forth, like a tennis match. It's you bop the ball into their court and they bop it back, and you have this dialogue that goes on that results in effective communication. It's got to be continuous. You can't have much of the I'm going to give you the silent treatment and you're going to pay and that kind of stuff. The other thing, harkening back to something I said earlier about negotiation, there's a right way to negotiate time in your relationship. So the big enemy, from my perspective, to a long-term relationship is time. There's too many things going on in this world that encroach upon the time that you need to spend building and working on a relationship. And so the way I've found to deal with that, the best way is to schedule time. So we're pretty intentional about scheduling time together on a regular basis so that we're together and we're talking about things that we need to talk about. And that enables us to shut out a lot of the world and spend us time working on the relationship. If you try to do it in bits and pieces, and you try to do it if you've got time left over, that time left over never comes, and I think you tend to drift apart. Anything else? Is that it?
Finally, would you do anything? Sorry. Was there anything that in the relationship that you wish you could have either like changed or like done better?
Yeah, so it's a very good question. You have some good questions. This question, if I had it to do over again, I would have probably sought the advice of older guys and how to do this marriage thing early on in my marriage. Because going into marriage, basically the only role model I had was my father and his wife, and they were good parents. I have no complaints, but their roles were really from a past generation, very defined roles. My father did pretty much only work, and my mother only did things at home. And so in the relationship I have with your mother, we're much more collaborative. We cooperate on things. We do things together a lot instead of her stuff and my stuff. And so early on in a relationship, I brought in this picture of how it should be, and it was based on my parents. It was very rigid, very, here's the role I'm going to be, and this is all I'm going to do. And it caused some friction in our relationship. And if I would have figured that out sooner, I think we could have just had a better relationship earlier, because I would have realized that she needs help in certain areas and I need help in certain areas, and we can help each other, as opposed to say, well, this is my box, you can't get in my box, you can't deal with my issues, and you deal with your issues. And as a result, once I figured that out, she kind of knew it all the time, but once I figured it out, we have a much stronger relationship. So if she has the freedom to come in and ask me for anything she wants, and I'll do it, and vice versa. And it's a privilege, it's an honor to help her do that, because I understand that we have this permanent marriage bond, and so whatever I do that's good for her is good for me.
Awesome, that's great advice. That's all the time we have for this part. Thank you for coming in
Sure.
and being questioned.
Anytime. Thank you.
I'm with my mom. Do you want to say your name?
Hi, I'm Leslie Kibbe. I was born in Laredo, Texas. My father was in the military, and so we moved. My parents moved 19 times in my lifetime. I think I moved 11 of those times. All over the world. We lived, I lived all over the United States, and then I went to high school in Japan and the Philippines, and then my brother also went to high school in Hawaii. And so my dad likes to say that my brother went to high school on 3 different islands in 3 different countries, all in the Pacific. So I went to high school on 2 different islands, 2 different countries in the Pacific. So by the time I was 15 or 16, I had traveled significantly around the world and seen so many things that other people haven't seen. And so lived in different cultures with different languages. And so it was a shock when I came to college, and I went to Baylor because my grandmother lived 45 minutes away, and I had 5 cousins there at the time, and my parents, when I was planning to go to college, were living in the Philippines. And so I wanted to go somewhere where I knew someone, and in case something happened. And so that's why I went there. And when I went, I was shocked at the racism, because I had lived with all kinds of cultures and all kinds of people, and I wasn't used to racism. And so that was eye-opening. But I loved living all over the world, and it was exciting. You know, you could fly space available flights. All the military flights go to bases every day, because they're constantly taking cargo to the different locations. And so if there was space on the flight, you could pay $10 and go. So we hopped on flights all the time. Went all over the Pacific. So it was fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's all the time we have for you today.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming in.
You're welcome.
And,
For you, anything.
all right.
All right. I love you.
I had to trim the last part. Oh no. Okay, we'll still record. Dive on in.
Okay.
So we've heard Dad's side from like how you two met.
Okay.
What is your side of it?
How we met?
Yes.
We met on my front porch. It was homecoming weekend of our junior year in college. We were at Baylor University, and his roommate and my roommate had conspired to set us up. And I was not interested. I had just come off of a long relationship, and I just was ready to focus on my studies. And but they kept insisting, and so they had asked him to drive them to my apartment, which was all of 2 blocks, to drive her home from his apartment. So my roommate Susan and Dad's roommate Jerome had asked your dad for a ride for the 2 blocks, and so they were all standing on my the front porch of my apartment when I drove up, and I was very excited because our upstairs neighbor and sorority sister had just been named the homecoming queen.
Oh.
And so I jumped out of my car and I went running up to the porch because all I really saw were my 2 roommates and Daddy's roommate, who I knew. And I was like, Cynthia, Susan, did you all hear the news? And then I turned and saw Daddy and I went, oh. He's a lot cuter than I thought he was going to be.
Wow.
So we ended up standing and talking for a few minutes, and he was on his way to the library, which was very typical. He always was studying, and I was trying to get him to stay and hang out for a little while, which was not successful. I was not successful. The funny thing is, Jerome had kind of taken Susan and Cynthia into the apartment, and I think Cynthia had gone on to the back, but Jerome and Susan were hiding out in the kitchen, and Daddy later, after we started dating, he said that he saw Susan come walking out of the kitchen, and Jerome pushed her back in the kitchen because he was hoping to give us more time to meet and greet, I guess.
It's like, no, go back.
So that's how we met.
Awesome. What would you say, like, before you started dating, like, when you were having a meet and greet, was that relationship like more of a friendship relationship, more of acquaintanceship?
I fell for him pretty fast and hard. The one great thing about coming off of a bad relationship is I had determined everything that I didn't want in my future husband. And so I had the list, not so much of what I wanted. I had certain things that I wanted, but a whole lot of things that I would not tolerate.
Oh, really?
And he was just wonderful. And I kept thinking, there's got to be something wrong with him. There's going to be something I don't like. And I couldn't find it. And we were super compatible. Jerome, I had a date to homecoming, but my date had not asked me specifically for the bonfire. And I had mentioned it to Susan, just saying, I don't know what time Michael is coming to get me. I assume we're going to the bonfire because we were going to homecoming, we're going to the game, we're going to a dance, and I was going to dinner with his family. And I said, but I don't know what time he's picking me up for the bonfire. She goes, so you don't really have a date for the bonfire? And I said, no. And so 5 minutes later, I hear Susan on the phone to Jerome saying, Jerome, get Rob to ask Leslie to the bonfire. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. But as fate would have it, 5 minutes later, the phone rang. It was Daddy saying, hey, would you like to go to the bonfire? So this, we met on a Thursday, and this was actually on Friday, the day of the bonfire. And so he planned to come pick me up, and off we were going to go to the bonfire. Well, the funny thing is we walked out of my apartment door, headed to his car, I heard this voice say, Michael, duck. And I looked to my left, and it's my homecoming date.
Oh, no.
There to pick me up, and he's got a friend with him. And the friend spotted me and Daddy walking out of the door and told him to duck in his car. And so I acted like I didn't see him. He acted like he didn't see me, and I just walked on by. And so off we went to the bonfire. And really by the end of that night, I knew that I had a pretty good crush on him already. So
Nice. Did you and a random question. Did you and Michael ever say like, let's not ever talk about that again?
The next day, it's just one of those things when you really like someone and you're in a massive crowd. Michael and I, our tickets happen to be like on the 25-yard line of the game, and I'm happy. Michael's a nice guy, and we're having a pretty good time. And I look to my right, so toward the goal line, and I pick Daddy out of the crowd, out of thousands and thousands of people.
It's a little bit easy.
He's easy, but he was sitting down when I spotted him.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I spotted him sitting down, and he was sitting next to his other roommate, Henry. And I looked at him, and I went, oh my gosh. And so then, of course, I kept looking down there to see what he was doing, because I was trying to see if he had a date. And Michael kept looking to see what I was looking at. So it was kind of funny. But Michael and I had a nice time. It was an okay day. It was long, and I was ready to get home because I had no interest in him whatsoever. I didn't in the beginning, but he had asked me to homecoming like 6 weeks before the event.
And it's like, oh no, I'm all
So there wasn't a lot. I couldn't say, oh, I already have a date, because I didn't. So
you could always fit.
well, I didn't. So it was fine.
Awesome. What was like? You may have already answered this, but what was like your first impression of Dad?
I thought he was stunning. He was dressed to go to the library. He was in sweats, and a t-shirt, and but I thought he was some kind of cute. Was very, very attracted to him.
Nice.
So, and the fact that he was headed to the library, and I couldn't talk him out of heading to the library. I thought, okay, he's also studious, so that's appealing too.
Like the very first quality I see of him is being very studious.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But we never had trouble talking. We could, we just hit it off from the beginning, and became fast friends immediately. So, and we started hanging out. So we saw each other. So that we met on Thursday. We went to the bonfire Friday. He called me Sunday, and I made him dinner. And then I think I saw him pretty much every day.
Here comes the question where Dad told the story that you're not particular to. You can tell a different story if you wish.
I will.
Or if you want to go along that story and tell your perspective, go ahead. Was there ever a fight between you two that involved breaking something?
Oh, breaking something. Okay, the story he told is the only time anything was ever broken. We've had fights over the things he's broken accidentally. I can say that.
I mean,
He's dropped many a dish in this long marriage. He's lethal on them. But yeah, we've had fights, but not where things get broken.
besides the crystal.
Yeah. But I want you to edit that out anyway. No, it's okay.
And you guys always found your way back after those fights.
Yeah. Which
is like the perfect way to be in a relationship with.
Yeah, there are gonna be fights. There are gonna be things that you don't disagree on, and there are gonna be heated fights. And but that's all right, as long as you both are able to express your opinion in a constructive and non-demeaning way. It's all right. I mean, you've heard us argue.
Even though I get very scared when you argue, I'm just like, ah.
Well, the older you get, the less it happens. It just doesn't happen very often anymore. We argued a lot more when we were younger and had hotter heads, but now it's like, whatever.
Oh my gosh. I really probably should have moved the script closer. That's gonna be edited out. What is one of your more favorite memories of the two of you?
We love to travel together, and so we haven't gotten to go on too many trips with just the two of us because of the four of y'all.
Yeah, you have children.
Yeah, but we've gotten to go more recently, especially since when you all, now we go out of town when you all go to camp in the summer. So we generally get to go, for 3 or 4 days a year, just the two of us. And so we've had incredible trips. We had an incredible trip this year to Carmel, California. We had so much fun. That's one thing when you're dating someone, you need to go on a trip with them because you need to know if you're compatible. And that's how you find out. And we are absolutely compatible. We have, we love to do the same things. We love to explore. We love to walk cities and do different activities. We're not sit in the room and twiddle our thumbs people at all. We like to get out and go and do, so we've had just wonderful trips. We've Carmel. We've been to Victoria and Vancouver was incredible. We went to Vail, Colorado one summer. That was incredible. We went to Charleston, South Carolina. Had a ball. So we've had some really New York City. Some really nice trips.
Do y'all know where you're gonna go next year, or?
No, I need to think about it. We haven't been to Seattle or Portland, so those are on our list.
Try to go to Seattle when it's not so rainy.
Yeah, well, that's hard to do. So, and we'll probably go. So we're coming up on this year will be our 34th anniversary. So next year will be our 35th. So we'll probably do something big. Well, and we know we're gonna do some international traveling coming up. So. Go see.
I'm very excited.
I know. Go see Caroline when she's doing a study abroad. So that'll be fun. Yeah.
Do you think I probably need glasses? I can't read that far. Do you have any tips for being able to sustain a healthy relationship?
We have to communicate a lot, and you have to be willing not only to talk and express things that concern you or bother you or that annoy you or that you love, but you also have to be willing to listen and accept constructive criticism. No one's perfect, and so for two people to live together, you have to work in tandem, and it's just going to take some effort. So you have to talk about it. And I think really the key is communication. You also have to spend time together. You cannot sustain a relationship for a very long period of time at all without
long distance.
Mm-hmm. Well, not that it's long distance, but you still have to spend quality time.
If you think into the past, is there anything in your relationship that you would want to change?
When we were younger, particularly when Catherine and Melissa were little, we didn't spend enough time, just the two of us. Part of it was because it was very hard to find a babysitter. It was expensive. We didn't have very much money at all. And so we didn't I didn't focus enough on our relationship. I focused on being a mom instead of being a wife, and it was a phase. It's a phase of life that everyone goes through. But I didn't do such a great job finding a great balance there. At the same time, he was trying to excel in his career, and he's working, 80 and 90-hour work weeks. And so he came home and he was tired. So he was focusing on his career, and I was focusing on two little babies at home, and we didn't spend enough time focusing on each other. Obviously, we weathered the storm fine, but I think that we could have caused ourselves, I would have been a lot less stressed if we had spent more time together. And we kind of got in the groove a little bit later, where we looked at everything like we're a team. That we helped each other no matter what it was. If it was something work-wise that he needed, and I could help him, I did. If there were things at home that I needed that he could help out with, he did. So we just started looking at everything as if we were a team, attacking it instead of this is my area and this is your area and they're separate. So, you know, there have been times when he's helped me do my, you know, whatever I was in charge of. He's helped me get projects done, and or he's done things around the house that were normally my job so that I could get my work done. So that's the only thing. And you know, in any relationship, time is the key. And so you've got to spend time together to have a really good relationship.
Nice.
Yeah.